Hey everyone, this is Homemaking with Rebecca, and today we're going to be making some chicken stew. So it's turned out really cold the last week here. We've had some morning lows in like the teens, and that's extremely cold here. And so I thought it would be really nice to have some chicken stew tonight. So I'm going to make a big pot of this, and it should serve us for a couple different meals. So I've got my big stock pot over here, and we're going to get this filled up with our chicken and some water, and we're going to be doing this just like you would a chicken stock. That's how you want to get started, because you want to make a nice rich broth for your chicken stew. So I'm going to put this down in here, and I've got this is an organic chicken from Aldi here, and let's see, this one is about 5 pounds. So what you're going to do is you just want to open up this chicken. And sometimes it's real messy. That's why I like to do it over here in the sink. And you just want to check the inside cavity. Sometimes they will have the inner parts of the chicken in there. Sometimes they'll have a little package in there. This one doesn't have anything. So I'm just going to kind of empty out the water in here. But if it does have that package in there, you just want to get that out before you start cooking it. So you're just going to put this down in here, and we're going to fill it up with some cold water. So we've got our chicken nice and covered with cold water here, and like I said, this is just making a basic stock. I would do the exact same thing for this. So I'm going to take a couple tablespoons of apple cider vinegar and put in here, and that just kind of helps draw out the nutrients and collagen and stuff from the chicken bones. And then I've got some salt, and I'm going to put just a couple tablespoons of salt in here, because what you want that to do is soak into the chicken while it's cooking, or otherwise your chicken's going to be just like super bland. And you don't want that when you're for your stew. You want to season every layer as you go. So we've got our salt in there. I'm going to put some pepper. If you want to add other herbs and seasonings, if you're just making a broth, you can do that as well. I just like to keep it super basic. So I'm just gonna my pepper in there. So I'm just gonna bring this to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, if there's any like stuff on the top, any foamy stuff, you just want to kind of scrape that off. And then you're going to bring it down to a simmer, kind of a medium low. So you're going to want to let it cook for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours till your chicken is nice and cooked. You're going to see it's going to start coming off of the bone, especially at the legs, and that's how you're going to know that it's done. So you really want to start this early in the day if you can. It's lunchtime here, so that's going to give me several hours, because once our chicken gets done, I'm actually going to put the bones back in there and let it cook for a few more hours to kind of richen that broth. So chicken stew is a fairly easy process. It's just you want to give it that extra time so that it has those rich flavors added to it. So we're going to get this boiling and scrape off the foam if there is any, and then we're just going to let it cook with the lid on for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. So this chicken has been cooking about 1.5 hours, and you can see here with the leg bones that the meat's starting to pull away from the bone there, and you can just tell the skin is cooked and everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it over in this pan, and we're going to let it cool for about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll debone the chicken. So what I'm doing here is I'm just separating all the chicken meat from the bones, and I'm putting the meat in a pile. And then I'm going to put all the bones and the cartilage and the skin and stuff back in my pot and let it cook for another couple hours. You don't have to do it this way. If you want to go ahead and make your stew now, you can. It's just this makes the broth a little bit richer and it tastes a little bit better. So after we get all the meat off the bones, I'm just going to break it up into smaller pieces. You could also use a knife and cut it up, and then it's going to be ready for our stew, and you want to cover it up while you're waiting on everything else to get ready so it doesn't dry out. So now that we've got our broth going and our chicken cooked, it is time for us to put our stew together. And so these are the rest of the ingredients. We've got a stick of butter. We're going to go ahead and get that melting while we cut up our onion, and we're going to cook our onion in that butter. We've got potatoes. Now these are some fairly large potatoes, so I'm not sure I'm going to use all those. We'll kind of see as we cut them up. We've got some sugar that kind of counteracts the tomatoes, gives it a little bit of sweetness. We've got corn, lima beans, salt, and pepper. And then we've got crushed tomatoes. So if you have somebody in your family that doesn't like chunky tomatoes and stuff, if you put crushed tomatoes and like chili and things like that, kids especially don't like the big chunks of tomatoes a lot of times, and I honestly don't either. So this is kind of a good hack. Add these crushed tomatoes, and usually you don't have a problem with the kids not liking it as much. So we're going to get our onion cut up here and get it cooking, and then we'll cut up our potatoes and get everything ready to go. So we're just going to let that onion cook up in that butter until it gets nice and translucent, and I'm going to peel and cut up the potatoes while that's working. So I like to get these in nice small cubes. You don't want a huge piece of potato when you eat into your stew. So I'm going to cut them in about 1/2-inch cubes. I'm going to start with this amount of potatoes, and then when I add it all together, if I feel like I need some more, I'll put another potato in there. But I'm just going to kind of see how it looks in proportion to everything. So our onions are getting nice and cooked here, and we're just going to start adding in everything else. And this is a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Now I'm just going to take my broth from over here that we've been cooking down and just add it to see how much I need in here. Oh yeah, that looks really good. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to bring this up to a boil, and then we're going to turn it down to medium or so and just let it cook until these potatoes are done. You can go ahead and add the chicken now, or you can add the chicken at the end. And then when everything cooks, you just kind of want to see if there needs any more seasoning added to it. I am going to go ahead and add some more salt and pepper right now. And so we'll just let it cook for a little bit, and I am going to go ahead and add my chicken. So you can see this is a lot of chicken. I'm probably going to add about half of this, and then what I may do is just save the other half for another meal. And you can cut it up in smaller pieces. It should kind of break up as it's in the stew too. So you could make one really huge big thing of stew with this, or you could get, you know, a couple meals out of your chicken if you want. little bit more pepper. So I'm making some cornbread to go along with our chicken stew. This is the Pioneer Woman's recipe, and I will put a link to that in the description below, as well as the recipe for the chicken stew. So I'm going to put just a little bit in this bowl right here, and then we're going to taste it and adjust the seasonings and make sure the potatoes are done. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and taste it now. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's really good. You can taste a little bit of sweetness. Let's get a lima bean. Lima bean's good and done. Potatoes are good and done. So I'm going to add a little bit more salt to this, and it should be good to go.